Für Europa, Clark glaubt, dass dieser Luftkrieg Erfolg haben wird. Wir gewinnen, Milosevic verliert und er weiß es. Militärisch zieht Clark eine positive Bilanz. 25.000 Einsätze ohne Verluste durch den Feind und nur wenige Fehlschläge. Nur einen Schönheitsfehler hat die Sache. Milosevic ist immer noch an der Macht. Konsequente NATO-Logik, die Luftangriffe gegen Jugoslawien werden noch einmal verstärkt.
Halt. Zwischendurch sieht alles ziemlich realistisch aus. Zug 2, der gute Kosovarische, kehrt zurück. Lob vom Offizier, Auftrag ausgeführt. Auch wenn der eine oder andere sich beim Verschanzen zu laut unterhalten hat. Und da stehen sie vor uns, zusammengedrängt zu einem schwitzenden Buchenhain. Azubis aus St. Anton, Asylbewerber aus Augsburg, Arbeitslose aus Amsterdam. Aus kosovarischen Zivilisten in ganz Europa sind Soldaten geworden, die soldatisch leben. Der Freizeit- und Konsumwert tendiert gegen Null. Wer Softdrinks oder mal ein Schlückchen Härteres möchte, kann sie in diesem Kabuff käuflich erwerben. Es gibt nur 2 kleine Bunsenbrenner, auf denen pro Tag ein paar Dutzend Tassen türkischer Kaffee gebrüht werden. Warten darauf ist beinahe aussichtslos. Kein Problem dagegen, wenigstens die Versorgung mit Tabak. Ein persönliches Interview mit Ridwan wird uns verwehrt. Privates ist nicht die Sache von Militärs. Doch als die Kamera an der Seite steht, erzählt und zeigt er uns vieles. Ein Lagerraum als Schlafplatz für 400, 500 Soldaten in Stockbetten, der Waschplatz mit Quellwasser unter freiem Himmel, die Donnerbalken mit Plastikfolie drumherum. Er erzählt, dass er seit längerem nicht mehr frühstücke und zu Abend esse, um sich abzuhärten für die Zeit im Kosovo, wenn der Nachschub abgeschnitten ist. Und dass er es furchtbar vermisse, telefonieren zu können.
In welcher Einheit bist du jetzt gerade?
In welcher Einheit?
Ja.
Vierten.
Vierte?
Vierten, ja. Artillerie. Artillerie.
Artillerie.
Ja.
Was ist jetzt genau deine Aufgabe?
Meine Aufgabe? Meinst du jetzt? Jetzt weiß ich nicht.
Ja.
Ah, genau, meinst du ja, ich bin mit das Gerät, das heißt F-75.
Ja. Wie lange dauert das, so ein Ding herzurichten, um das fertig zu machen?
Ah, das dauert nicht lang. Das kommt darauf an, wie schnell die Leute sind. Ja, dauert nicht lang. In 2 Minuten kann es schon fertig sein.
Und wie schwer ist so ein Ding?
Boah, schwer.
Insgesamt 50 Kilo.
50 Kilo wiegt es so zusammen.
Wie viele Leute müssen das zusammentragen?
Ja, das ist normal 3, aber bei uns tragen wir auch eins. Einer tragt es. Einer tragt es nur die, wie heißt die, roh und die andere die Beine da.
Warum er jetzt statt seiner grünen Kappe eine schwarze trage, sieht viel besser aus, sagt er. Ridwan hat schon immer Wert auf sein Outfit gelegt. Wieder schwärmen die Einheiten A30 Mann aus in die Berge, zum Marschieren querfeldein, bergauf bis über die Baumgrenze, zum Schießen, zum Theorieunterricht. Freiwillig sind sie alle hier. Und doch gibt es Unterschiede. Einige von ihnen haben schon woanders gekämpft, in Bosnien, in Afrika, in Asien. Einige wenige Söldner gibt es in der UÇK und oft haben die früher der Fremdenlegion angehört. Einige aggressive Spinner sind uns aufgefallen, die in jeden Krieg ziehen würden, und nicht ganz so wenige Nationalisten, die bereits Pläne schmieden für ein ethnisches Großalbanien, das zumindest das Kosovo umfasst. Für die überwältigende Mehrheit der Rekruten aber gilt, dass sie eigentlich lieber zu Hause wären und dass nur die Kriegsverbrechen der Serben sie hierher getrieben haben.
Unsere Soldaten sind stark motiviert und sie wären glücklich, wenn sie für ihr Vaterland sterben dürften. Sehen Sie, ich bin einer von ihnen, obwohl ich zu Hause ein 2 Wochen altes Kind zurückgelassen habe. Ich bin vorbereitet, für das Kosovo und seine Menschen zu kämpfen. So wie ich denken hier alle. Und das hört man ja auch aus den Liedern, die wir singen. Wir wären froh, wenn wir zu Märtyrern für unser Kosovo würden.
Marschieren in rechteckigen geometrischen Formen scheint zum unumstößlichen Grundgesetz jeder Armee auf der ganzen Welt zu gehören. Auch die UÇK hält sich eher daran, obwohl ihre Aufgabe eindeutig im Partisanenkrieg besteht. Ortswechsel. Albanisch-serbische Grenze in der Gegend von Tropoja. Vermutlich hier gelangen die UÇK-Soldaten und ihre zivilen Hilfstruppen, die Kalaschnikows auf Eseln transportieren, hinein ins Kosovo. Ob es einen befreiten UÇK-Korridor jemals gab, weiß man nicht. Doch selbst wenn er noch bestehen sollte, die Überquerung der grünen Grenze ist mit die gefährlichste Phase einer jeden Truppenverlegung der UÇK. Serbische Scharfschützen erwarten die jungen Kämpfer, Granaten und Landminen. Ob es die immer wieder angekündigte Großoffensive der UÇK geben wird, ist ungewiss. Doch alle 2-3 Wochen verlassen allein dieses Lager mehrere hundert schnell geschulte Soldaten. Diese Männer dürften tatsächlich ins Kosovo gelangen, wo und wie auch immer. Die Absicht von Gärtnergehilfe Ridvan Bayram Pushkoli aus Markstadt bei Stuttgart war es, für die Befreiung des Kosovo zu kämpfen. Dieses Ziel wird er sehr bald erreicht haben. Seine Einheit wird verlegt. Ob es einige Rambo-Typen in den Lagern gibt oder nicht, ob Teile der Militärführung Albaniens oder der UÇK von einem Großalbanien träumen oder nicht. Ridvan wird sein Leben riskieren, weil er ganz einfach nicht zuschauen mag, wie seine Landsleute vertrieben und ermordet werden.
Serbs to completely clear Kosovo of ethnic Albanians must have evaporated during a frantic and disturbing day at the Blace border crossing. There have been many scenes like this over the past 2 months of the conflict, but never involving such a large number of traumatized and undernourished people. They said much of their capital city of Pristina had been destroyed.
Pristina is in ruins. They've robbed every store. They shot people in the streets and even hacked them to death.
They complained of being crammed onto trains and buses at gunpoint to be kicked out of Kosovo.
They stopped the bus and got us out. They started beating people up, tearing up our IDs. And then 3 young men were taken to the woods. We never saw them again.
The Macedonian government, in danger of being overwhelmed by this recent surge, which brought the number of refugees in their country to 250,000, appealed to other countries for more help. It sent the UN Refugee Agency scurrying to find more tents and to locate sites for new camps.
The military come into the houses, they threaten the people with guns and knives and systematically empty every house in the streets of Pristina. So yeah, I would call it, whether it's the final purge, we don't know, but there are not that many people left.
As the day wore on, they kept coming through. They were first moved into the border transit centre and then bused to camps which will soon be full. They must have wondered whether living in a refugee camp would be the final indignity. David Crabtree, Sky News, on the Kosovo-Macedonian border.
Russia's strikes are starting to cripple normal civilian life in Yugoslavia, particularly vital services. In this hospital for newborn babies, the lights and more importantly power for the incubators went off. Medical staff switched over to the emergency hospital generator, which is itself low on fuel. Belgrade's water company said attacks on electricity plants meant water was being pumped to only 2/5 of the capital. Bread queues, unprecedented in recent times, are a sure sign of a city under siege.
NATO has not deliberately or intentionally targeted civilians. The fact is, Belgrade, whether one likes this or not, has continued a very brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing against an entire population.
Britain has now dispatched the auxiliary ship Argus to the Adriatic. She could be used for helicopter-borne landings if ground forces go in. That prospect seemed closer, with the Defence Secretary saying troops would escort refugees back home with or without President Milosevic's agreement.
We are committed to getting the refugees back into Kosovo. Milosevic has not got a veto, so our troops will not be waiting for Milosevic's signature on some document for that.
But the German Defence Minister, Rudolf Scharping, visiting German troops in Macedonia, favoured a continued air campaign, while at Alliance headquarters, a spokesman for the Kosovar Albanians backed NATO's action despite his people's suffering.
Although the people of Kosovo have been subjected to genocide and suffering of enormous proportions, they continue to ask for an intensification of the NATO campaign.
Russian diplomacy is stirring again, with Moscow's envoy Viktor Chernomyrdin planning another visit to Belgrade. The composition of an international force for Kosovo, plus demands that NATO stop the bombing, remain the sticking points. Graham Leach, Sky News.
Per I kosovari che vogliono venire in Italia, fornisce loro a pagamento naturalmente documenti falsi e li fa imbarcare sui traghetti in partenza da Valona e diretti a Brindisi. In 2 giorni, ieri e oggi, con questo escamotage sono arrivati 400 profughi kosovari che hanno chiesto asilo politico alle autorità italiane appena la nave è arrivata in porto e la polizia ha iniziato le operazioni di controllo. Questa nuova via ha il pregio di essere più sicura dei gommoni e potrebbe essere usata ancora di più perché i controlli in partenza sembra siano pressoché nulli.
Efficaci che costringeranno Milosevic ad alzare bandiera bianca entro 2 mesi. Certo, l'inquietante profilo del portavoce della NATO Shea, che parla di buona giornata quando le bombe intelligenti sbagliano bersaglio, non contribuisce a fare chiarezza. Ma qui in America appare sempre più evidente che Clinton deve, per ragioni di politica interna, raggiungere almeno l'obiettivo minimo di costringere Milosevic ad accettare le condizioni della NATO. Non importa se per arrivare a questo dovrà ridurre Belgrado al buio e alla sete. Su questo, guerra entro l'estate, garantire ai profughi l'inverno a casa, se non vorrà che anche qui in America l'intera operazione diventi un disastro di immagine, oltre che umanitario. E infatti gli interrogativi si spostano proprio sul tempo, il maggior nemico del risultato. Ma alle accuse di dilettantismo si aggiungono anche accuse più sostanziali. Lo scrittore Norman Mailer afferma oggi che è osceno ordinare bombardamenti senza voler rischiare sangue americano e Kissinger mette in dubbio le ragioni umanitarie che hanno spinto Clinton alla guerra. Comunque si concluda, la campagna dei Balcani imporrà alla superpotenza un serio esame di coscienza sull'efficacia della sua leadership mondiale.
Bambini, donne e anziani, anche 24 ore di attesa per un posto in tenda. Tra ieri e questa sera 20.000 profughi hanno passato la frontiera di Blace. I macedoni sono sempre più preoccupati e tesi per un'accoglienza sempre più difficile per ragioni non solo logistiche. Torna prepotente il timore di un'alterazione dei rapporti etnici tra maggioranza macedone e minoranza albanese se i profughi dovessero restare a lungo. L'Alto Commissariato per i profughi ha bloccato il trasferimento forzato dei kosovari al confine albanese con la promessa di 2 nuovi campi per accogliere gli ultimi disperati che arrivano con storie sempre più drammatiche come quella di Bece Krasniqi di Pristina, scampato come racconta il suo destino di scudo umano. I miliziani sono venuti 3 volte, volevano 1000 marchi in cambio della vita e hanno minacciato di portare via mia moglie. Siamo scappati a piedi alle 4 del mattino, abbiamo preso il treno a Kosovo Polje, poi fino ad Uroševac. Ci hanno fatto scendere in mezzo alla campagna, le forze paramilitari serbe hanno obbligato me e altri 4 a seguirli verso la postazione dei carri armati serbi. Ci siamo salvati solo perché 5 minuti prima la NATO ha bombardato la postazione. Ho visto il fumo con i miei occhi, solo Dio ci ha salvato.
So were more dead. There were a number of people lying under blankets in the prison compound. I think those were the same bodies that we saw last Friday, but in addition we saw a new group of corpses in one of the cell blocks, and we were told that those people had died in NATO bombing between Friday and Sunday.
Why are the dead and wounded still there?
Well, in fact, the explanation we were given was that because NATO has been continuing to bomb the prison and because planes have been overhead for days on end, the prison authorities hadn't been able to move the dead and wounded. We were told that only this morning, only on Monday morning, finally they decided it was sufficiently safe to take the wounded to nearby hospitals, to take the other inmates to other prisons in different parts of Yugoslavia, and the dead appear to still be there. About 40, 45 bodies, in fact, we counted.
Is there any sign that this prison was being used for military operations?
I would say that I think there's something very strange about Istok. I'd be able to be any more specific than that, but we asked ourselves exactly how these people had died, the more recent bodies, the ones we saw in one of the cell blocks. A couple of men had their trousers pulled down around their knees. Some of the men had shorn hair, others had longer hair. They didn't all look as though they'd necessarily been killed by shrapnel or by a bomb blast. What we also saw were a couple of men wearing uniforms and black masks over their heads, patrolling the grounds of the prison. And the countryside around is pretty much deserted, apart from the security forces. So I think there may be more to Istok prison than meets the eye.
Refugees have been attempting to cross over into the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Overnight, it was estimated that around 5,000 were at the border. Some who were there said another 20,000 were on their way. Meanwhile, NATO warplanes are reported to have bombed police headquarters in Belgrade, already badly damaged in previous attacks.
Macedonia's border with Kosovo has not experienced scenes like this for nearly a month. The last time they came in such numbers, 20,000 in the past 3 days, the authorities promptly closed the border. This time, after protests from the UN, the people are being allowed in, but slowly and painstakingly. Macedonia, with its own restive Albanian minority, has no wish to be the home for many more, but up to 20,000 more could be on their way.
We are worried about maybe in the coming days. Who knows whatever is going on with Milosevic's plans? Maybe he's going again to prepare a great influx of refugees, which is directing toward Macedonia.
The tented cities like Cegrani camp, which had been slowly emptying as refugees were flown out to third countries, are now filling again. Facilities are being stretched to the limit.
Here in Cegrani camp, we currently have 37,000 refugees. Today we're expecting about 4,000 more who have just crossed the border. We've had to expand our camp, build new tents, as you can see behind me, so that enough people will have shelter, blankets, food and water tonight.
In Yugoslavia, NATO says its attacks on infrastructure targets, such as this power station at Obrenovac, are weakening the regime. Power and water shortages are clearly hurting, with Belgrade down to its last 10% of water reserves. Trams and telephones have been affected. NATO has been encouraged by reports in the past week of public protests against the war. But the ethnic cleansing of Kosovo continues, and there have been reports that more Yugoslav reinforcements could even be arriving in the province. Jim Fish, BBC News.
And all others depicted on the slide. The reason we assume that is in the southern Serbia lies in the fact that the majority of Serbs fighting in Kosovo, fighting soldiers in Kosovo, do come from the southern part of Serbia. The remarkable unrest in Kachak, for instance, is thought to be connected with the call-up of reservists. These troops are moving into the western area of Kosovo, which I have indicated 2 days ago. And these troops are going in there to bolster their flagging forces in Kosovo. These very forces that have been degraded severely by constant NATO attacks obviously have to be at least replaced. These events demonstrate the effectiveness of the NATO campaign against Serb forces in Kosovo. They also indicate growing unrest as Serbs witness the return of coffins instead of their young men from Kosovo. Despite unfavorable weather, NATO aircraft attacked targets in Kosovo and strategic targets in Serbia. Once again, I'm happy to say that NATO aircraft returned safely. In Kosovo, we struck several artillery pieces, mortar positions, and revetted military vehicles as depicted on the slide. The Army support base at Krivovo was also attacked where fuel and resupply vehicles had been seen. At the same time, we pressed the attack against the governmental command and control facilities that orchestrate the ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. Attacks against strategic targets included a strike against the command and control bunker at the presidential villa at Dobanovici and the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The airfields at Badanica and Sjenica were struck again to hamper Serb efforts to repair aircraft operating surfaces. A radar site at Novi Sad was also successfully attacked, forcing Serb forces to resort to older equipment. An ammunition site and a petroleum storage site in Serbia were struck to further disrupt supplies to Serb forces in Kosovo. In Kosovo, Serb ground forces continue their actions mainly in the western part, close to the Albanian border. In this area are being replaced by reservists, which I have already announced in the beginning of my script. NATO aid flights continue. Yesterday, there were 9 into the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia and 11 into Albania. And there are still 9 convoys notified and seen in Kosovo and Serbia. Destroyed. You see large secondary explosions after the bombs have exploded as the tank is hit. The fragments and secondary explosions are an indication for battle damage assessment that the target was a real one. This ends my part of the briefing. Thank you very much.
General Yurts, as always, thank you very much. So, Jake, please.
Jamie, you explained this morning that the NAC has before it a proposal for an expanded KFOR of up to 48,000, which includes an assumption that some of them will come from non-NATO countries. Now, could you tell us, have any non-NATO countries actually been approached to ascertain their willingness to take part in such a force? And if so, what have they been told about the circumstances in which their troops would be expected to enter Kosovo?
Okay, Jake. Well, first of all, this is what I personally call our Teddy Roosevelt force. It's a force that we are designing to speak softly, but to carry a big stick. In other words, to be a robust force, robust command and control, built around a NATO core, so that it will truly be able, effectively, to do the difficult job that it's going to have to do to create an environment of security in Kosovo.
They're doing everything. People are starving to death. They have no medication. They are in a terrible state. The people are desperate to get out.
People were dying on the way here. The situation is unbelievable. We've been traveling for so long. We just need a rest.
The agencies have been hearing similar stories from this latest influx of refugees.
In some cases, I've heard today that it's been deliberately contaminated. The Serbian military have either urinated on the food or poured detergent on it so that it's inedible. So people are finding it harder and harder each day to survive.
Today, a baby was born in no man's land. An ambulance was allowed through. Mother and baby were rushed to a field hospital in a Macedonian refugee camp. And despite the terrible circumstances, they're both said to be doing well. The refugees said the Serb efforts to clear Kosovo of its ethnic Albanians were at their most intense since the crisis began. Aid agencies have considered sending food convoys to those still trapped in Kosovo. With no guarantee of security, the supplies may never get through to where they're so vitally needed. David Crabtree, Sky News, Macedonia.
Another coachload of refugees arrives in Kukës. Most have tales of torture and beatings. Many simply can't cope with the sudden freedom. These men haven't eaten for days. The scars on their bodies exacerbated by the mental suffering inflicted by their captors.
Tell me where the KLA is and tell me
long live Serbia. That's what I want to hear from you.
Relatives wait, looking for their loved ones.
Deri sot na kanë liruar, na kanë çu mitroviz, na kanë marrë pyetje. Shkollë medicinës na kanë rre.
Mostly it's because he was beaten very badly. That's the main
Na kanë dope familjes, familja më kanë
separated also from our family. My family is in Wichita and I don't know anything about my family.
One man did find his relatives. They'd waited in Kukas for weeks, not knowing if he was dead or alive. With every coachload that arrives, there's a sea of expectant faces, waiting, hoping and praying to find lost members of their families they believed were long dead. For some, there was some joy, but for most, they were to be disappointed. Ross Appleyard, Sky News, Kukas.
Keeping force, up to 50,000 troops would be involved. The NATO spokesman Jamie Shea told Sky News non-NATO countries would be involved.
Many countries have told us that they would only be interested in joining this force if it has a NATO core, because they too want to benefit from the efficiency and from the robust approach that they know NATO and only NATO can provide. So I can't give you at this stage an exact date, but as our planning develops, they will be brought in.
Të kryeministrit Thaçi me ministrin e jashtëm shqiptar Milo dhe me përfaqësuesit e disa partive shqiptare u theksuan pikpamjet identike për domosdoshmërinë e unifikimit faktorit politik dhe ushtrak në Kosovë. Kryeministri Majko gjatë takimeve të tij të larta në Bruksel me personalitete të larta politike dhe ushtarake është siguruar për mbështetjen e Shqipërisë në këto momente të vështira të popullit shqiptar. NATO ka sulmuar për herë të tretë vilën e Miloševićit dhe ka paralizuar rrjetin energjetik në Serbi. Dezertimi I madh I ushtarëve, policëve dhe I paramilitarëve serb në Kosovë, ndërkohë që morali në radhët e ushtarëve të UÇK-s është shumë I lartë kurse rezultatet në fushën e betejave janë solide. Kryeministri I Qeverisë së Përkohshme të Kosovës Hashim Thaçi me bashkëpunëtor ka pasur sot takime me zyrtarë të lartë të shtetit shqiptar dhe me përfaqësues të subjekteve politike të Shqipërisë. Ministri I punëve të jashtme të Shqipërisë Pascal Milo priti sot paradite kryeministrin e Qeverisë së Përkohshme të Kosovës Hashim Thaçi, I cili shoqëroi nga Xhavit Haliti përfaqësues diplomatik I Kosovës në Tiranë. Zoti Milo u shpreh fillimisht se dyert e qeverisë shqiptare kanë qenë dhe do të mbeten të hapura si për përfaqësuesit e Qeverisë së Përkohshme të Kosovës, ashtu edhe për përfaqësuesit e forcave të ndryshme politike e ushtarake të Kosovës. Mesazhet që na sjellni ju janë mesazhe që vijnë nga fronti më I vështirë, ai luftës, tha zoti Milo. Ato janë shprehje e sakrifice sublime që ju po bëni për të tashmen dhe të ardhmen e Kosovës. Në emër të Qeverisë së Përkohshme të Kosovës, zoti Thaçi falenderoi qeverinë shqiptare dhe veçanërisht diplomacinë shqiptare